Hello everyone, it's Gladius. I wanted to make a quick video about codexes, aspects, and how we can apply legendary affixes to other gear and pass that on to our new item.
In Diablo, it's not only important that we understand this system, but we need to understand when to use it and how to avoid some major pitfalls that'll end up setting your character behind.
As an example, I wanted to take a look at a particular aspect that I found on my Barbarian. I'm doing a Hammer of the Ancients build, and this right here is a pivotal aspect that I need to use for my build to be able to function. Notice right here, the item actually rolled the highest possible value on the legendary affix, though the item itself is not that great. What I want to do is to be able to take this aspect and put it on another item. Let's talk about the Occultist and how the Occultist can help you apply these to your gear. So if you're in Koyovashad, head on over to Demian, the Occultist. We step on over here and open up the imprint aspect menu. We see that we get a couple options here. First, we're going to have an item that we can put up here. This is the item we want to inherit the legendary affixes. We get a couple options below it where it's Codex of Power and Aspect from Inventory. First, let's talk about Codex. Codex is basically the lowest possible value rolled on an affix. Now you might be wondering, why would I want to apply the lowest possible value? Well, what's great about this is that we're able to get these as guaranteed rewards by running certain dungeons. This aspect of Ancestral Force, I was able to get from running the Sunken Ruins up here. And I was able to get that legendary affix very early on in my build. Over here, you can see that if you run this dungeon, you would get the aspect of the Relentless Arms Master. So there's a lot of aspects out there waiting for you to get. For some of the aspects, you have to find the legendary before you're able to use it on another piece of gear. Now, let's go back over here and look at the Occultist again. So once again, I ran that dungeon, so I have this codex, which means I can apply it to any piece of gear at any time, whenever I want. So for example, say I wanted to have this codex, I could apply it to one of my weapons right here. And then the preview down here is what you would get after you did this combination. Keep in mind there's a material cost and also a gold value that you have to pay as well whenever you're doing this crafting. So you can think the Codex of Power as an option to get your build up and running if you didn't find the power on a random drop. If we wanted to transfer the legendary roll we got on an item, notice that we can't just take our legendary item and put it in the aspect slot. What we have to do first is we have to go over to the Aspect Extract tab. And then by putting the item in here, we're then able to make an aspect like this here, and then it's going to turn it into an item for us to use. And we can find that over here in our Aspects tab. And now if we would go back to this over here, we can now put that aspect into the slot. And now if we wanted to, we could put our weapon up here, and then we would be able to use the max roll of the affix on the mace. This would be a huge mistake. And the reason for that is that you can only imprint an aspect once. So once you make this new item down here, you're not able to take that item and then place it back in the aspect extract tab and take out the aspect again to apply it to something else. So every time we want to apply an aspect, we're going to have to extract it, apply it, and then that's as far as it can go. We can't do it again. So basically, every time I want to apply this offensive aspect of Ancestral Force, I have two options. I can either apply the minimum value from the codex, or I can find one of these legendaries that has one of the rolls that rolls this legendary affix. All right, so that's how we can transfer power from one item to another. But I want to take this one step further and show you how you can get more out of transferring your aspects. If you're paying very close attention, you might have noticed when I put the aspect over here, we get a much lower value than we had it when we had it on the item. No, extracting the imprint did not lower the value. We actually reduced it by half because we're applying this to a one-handed mace. So we get a multiplier based on the item that we're imprinting. This would just be at a 100% value of the base aspect. I hope that's not too confusing, but let me explain it in a different way here. So let's look at another example. So our one-handed weapons are 100% of the aspect. So it's just gonna be 1 times the aspect. We actually get a 2 times multiplier if we use a two-handed weapon. So when I put the aspect in here, notice it jumps up to 100%. The bottom end goes from 32 to 64, and the top end goes from 50 to 100. So we want to make sure we're choosing carefully which item slot we use for when we apply our aspects. Now, weapons are not the only place you can apply your aspects. Notice when we look at my character, my hands, amulet, rings, all highlighted because they all have their own ability to get aspects as well. So now let's take a look. If I put my hands in here, I get 100% the value. If I put my ring in here, we get 100% the value. If I put my amulet in here, this is where it gets a little bit different. We actually get 1.5 times the value, right? So we get half of it added in. So instead of it being 200% applied, it's 150% of the value. So wrapping it all up, these aspects, when you get a roll that's at the top end of the value, you want to save this for an item you're going to be using for a long time. And just to explain this one step further, you are able to apply these regular aspects to uniques as well. So if you wanted to save this for when you find your unique weapon, that is a great idea. All right, that's it. That's everything about extracting and applying aspects to your items. And if the video helped you out today, please heroic strike that like button. If you want to stay tuned for more Diablo content in the future, please slam the subscribe. I appreciate your time today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.